You're watching the Juice Consumer Direct podcast. I'm Carson Poppenger here with Jacob Thorpe, our SVP of Client Services, and we have a special guest today, Benoy Tamang.
Hi. Thanks for having me, guys.
Welcome, Benoy. An old friend, someone I've known for a very long time. In fact, someone that inspired me to help start Squeeze when way back in the day we were working together as a sort of client-vendor relationship. And I said, I'm thinking I want to start my own company. And we went to lunch and you said, do it. And that was a pivotal moment for me to kind of have some confidence to say, okay, I should do this. I should try this. And that sort of fast forward 16, 17 years, here we are. So
key player in the Carson lore.
Yeah.
He's got lots of those.
Yes.
Well, you've been obviously like a great cheerleader for us and someone that we've worked with throughout the 17 years in different capacities at times with different companies you've been involved with. But just to give you a little bit of a background on Benoy, and then we'll have a chance for you to sort of give some additional context. But Benoy's been involved in businesses and leadership for over 30 years in different companies, tech companies, startups, seasoned companies that have gone public, tech operations, marketing strategy, executive coaching. And that's mostly what you're doing today is executive coaching, CEO coaching specifically. But Benoy has founded and scaled multiple companies, led teams through rapid growth and exits, and now helps founders and CEOs sharpen their leadership and strategic edge as the founder of Tech CEO Coach. That's your new operation that you're running. And it's always a pleasure talking with you, Benoy. So thanks for being here.
Oh, this is fun. These conversations would have helped me way back when I started. So it's payback time.
Yeah.
You got to pay it forward. So happy to do so. Thanks. You want me to embellish on some of the background?
Yeah, give it some background.
Yeah, the whole thing started because a long time ago when I was just within my parents' nuclear family, I noticed that there was a lot of what I call corporate bullying. My dad was in the British Army, and in that hierarchy, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of employees, right? And there was always this, I said, what's going on? And one day we were on vacation, and I noticed my dad was all spiffed up with a tie and a fancy Burberry's overcoat. It was winter. And I said, Dad, you're looking kind of spiffy today. What's going on? How come you don't dress like that when we're back in the barracks with the battalion? And my dad was in the British Army. He said, son, don't you know I can't dress like this around my British officers? And I knew immediately, and I was about 11 or 12, I knew immediately what he was talking about. And back in the Stone Age and larger hierarchies, the British officers had to be superior to the brown officers. Parents were from Nepal, recruited in the army. And when my dad answered, I go, got it, Dad, understood. I was going to British schools at that time. And then not long after, a couple of years later, we were stationed in Hong Kong, and we drove the military issue Land Rovers, green, right, gear stick on this side, and all of a sudden there was a green military issue Land Rover on the side, and a very angry mob of Chinese people, looking like they were in a fight or something. And Dad immediately recognizes the vehicle and says, we got to check this out. Come with me, son. So I was, 13 maybe? And he drags me into the middle of this melee. And we find that this little young, meaning 30-something-year-old British officer was being pummeled by this angry mob. We don't know what incited this or whatever, but we pulled him out somehow through all of that. Dad pulled him out. Dad's not very big, 5'4", pulls him out, puts him into our Land Rover, and we take off to go to the barracks because he was pretty beaten up. And I said, Dad, better hurry up. They're chasing us. They were so angry that they were chasing us, and it felt like something out of Mission Impossible, Born Identity kind of a thing. And we ended up screaming into the barracks. They lift the sentry lifts the gate, goes through, shuts it, nobody can come in, right? And forever that officer would say, oh, the Tamangs, they saved me. And I was thinking, so the brown officers can't dress as well as the English officers because that's the pecking order. And yet the the white officer got beaten up by the Chinese locals. And somehow in that young formative stage, the impression came that I don't like bullies. I don't like large organizations. So when Dad said, hey, you're going to go to the military with your education, he was a high school dropout, you could do well. You'd have a great career. And I said, Dad, no, I think I'm going to do small businesses and own my own. And he said, wisely said, I understand, go do it. And ever since then, my whole motive has been growing personally through operating and starting. And now I have this fantastic role to help other founders grow the business and go through what I call the biggest underdog role that you can ever have, to be a startup guy. It's rough. That is the most bullied of all roles because it's rough. And so I'm completely passionate about helping. Programmed from a long time ago. That's why I do what I do.
That's an inspiring story. Just to understand how you sort of, framed your thinking, getting in with working with small businesses, and we've seen that. I've worked in some bigger companies, not enormous companies. We deal with some enormous companies, and we see like how they move slowly, and there's lots of red tape, and there's lots of, they want to do things, but then they're limited and they're prevented from doing things. There's political decisions that go on where priorities are set based on, where maybe not all of the facts are considered, but decisions are made nonetheless, and it makes it difficult to do things sometimes. And so we've sort of been a hack for those companies in a way where they say, by using Squeeze, I can sort of circumvent some of the issues that I have with my tech team, and I can circumvent, and we can get the things done that I want to do. If I have to take this internally through our team, it's going to never get done. And so
for a bunch of reasons.
Yeah.
Oftentimes I think in big organizations, employees are playing defense more than they're playing offense. They're trying to defend their territory, make sure that no one encroaches.
Don't stick your neck out too far.
Yeah, exactly. They're just kind of keep things going. Don't rock the boat too much. And it's really hard to accomplish big things, I think, when you're playing defense. I think ego really, that all comes from ego, right? It all comes from that kind of, I need to be important or be perceived as important. I think that's like the biggest hindrance in good decision making. I think it really clouds judgment.
You asked, as we were just discussing before going live, about whether or not I focus on founders and their growth versus professional management, leadership that comes in. The majority of the time, two answers. Majority of the time I work with founders where they've reached a stage where they've grown into enough, maybe it's 6, 10, 12 million. And so they've done the hard work. But then comes the high stakes game of now I have to grow even further. And I did it all by blood, sweat, and tears and sacrifice. I don't know if I can scale more because I got no more of me to give. And how do I delegate? How do I become a better leader and grow the business? That's when I come in. I call it high stakes game of scaling after the initial getting the momentum going. Most professional leaders, unfortunately, do not have the humility to ask for coaching help, right? And so I'll tell you right now, but founders who I absolutely resonate with, they're saying, and you can see it in their eyes, please help me. Those who are humble enough and self-aware that I need some help, they're the ones I would love to help. So rarely do I get to help professional new blood that comes in to lead. Because they're already, I've been appointed by the board. I got to make this happen. I can't show that I need help. Well, what's the point of hiring me, of them hiring me? So,
I have the answers,
Yeah, right. Yeah. So it's not going to happen. So I'm telling you that 100% founders who have now reached a certain stage and they don't want to screw up investors' money, a board, a new opportunity. And so that's why I call it high stakes scaling is when I come in to help.
And that becomes someone else's dream at that point. You're fulfilling someone else's dream and not your dream. Like the why, the mission is less clear.
Yes. And you said, like Carson, when he started the business, he still has it.
Yeah.
He just feels it. It's his baby, right?
Mm-hmm.
And the commitment to execute, even if it's wrong, he's going to go full in.
Yeah.
And he'll care. He'll put his arms around the whole team. It's a little different when the professional executive comes in because he's going to go for the numbers.
Yeah.
Come high, hell water, I'm going to go for the numbers. And the execution may be even laudable, right? And get great results.
But essence,
essence
is,
the love of the game is lost. The clinical win is what they go for. But the founders, they'll take everybody with them. They'll cajole them. They'll do whatever. And I love that. Right? Then they're also helping the internal teams, the founders, the original guys, the original employees also succeed as the business grows up. And you go, why wouldn't you want to help somebody like that?
Yeah.
Who cares?
I look back at my career and like the places where the road could have diverged, you know? And really, like, when I look back on it, I kind of hung my hat just on like Carson, like, hey, he's going to figure this out and I'm going to help him figure it out. And like, it's true. I think that's totally true because I think for you, Carson, something that I've seen, and Carson loves when we talk about him too. Like this is his favorite thing. We can do this, but for him, something that's been really important to him is like lifting the team with him. Like he absolutely views it as like a team experience and providing new opportunities for people and things like that. Like, you know, how lucky is that? You don't lose that essence, and then the culture stays true to what it is. And like things change. I mean, there's been times where you've been like, hey, I don't know how to do this, so we need to figure out how to do this. And we're all on board and we're all trying to figure it out instead of having all the answers, right? And I feel like that's there's a really good book, David and Goliath.
Yeah.
I'm sure you've probably read this, where it talks about like big fish, little pond. Big fish, little pond, and then and then big pond, little fish. Basically, you go somewhere where you can make a difference and you're able to excel. You go somewhere where you're just a small cog in a big machine, you can get lost in the shuffle. And I think there's something so fun about like being a part of something that's growing and that's changing and that's dynamic and you're moving fast and every day is a new problem to solve.
You also highlighted one aspect of Carson that I've always known, and that's why we got along. Companies have mission, vision, core values.
Yeah.
And in my world of coaching CEOs, I have a simple core value that I direct my life with because I don't want to waste time anymore. I won't work with CEOs who are turds. It's a very complicated formula. I'm sure you understand that you can smell them a mile away. So I work with non-turds. So he laughs knowingly, you laugh. But essentially, right?
We do the same with clients.
Right?
You know,
that's
like
what it is. In the end, I don't have time, right?
Yeah.
I'm not going to ever force myself on someone to help them change and improve if they don't want to, if they feel like they don't have to and that they're not self-aware. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, you want me to help you? May I refer you to somebody else?
I'm not a good fit here.
Yeah. It's not right. Or I'll price them out. Oh, really? Price is no option? Okay, then this is the price, right?
Yeah.
So, but I'm sorry. That's why this man has done well with your help.
Well, you know who you want to work with and where you can affect change and those who be receptive to, you know, feedback. And we feel that too with clients that we work with, where some client relationships we're never, you know, we never intentionally want to lose any clients, right? But sometimes it does make sense to just refer them to another solution or say, you know, you're right. We're not delivering on this. You should probably go and find a different solution.
It's addition by subtraction.
Yeah.
When you get in those situations too, it's hard for the whole team.
Yeah.
Down to the agent. Like agents know, our entry level agents know that like something's a dog. They know this is not like everything else, and this is not super consistent with our culture. I'm not feeling, you know, motivated by this, and
there's too much pressure, like a tremendous amount of pressure from the client, and then that is on our management group, and then, you know, we're always big on, okay, let's make sure that pressure doesn't trickle down,
insulate
from it. But nonetheless, that does happen, you know, and especially when there's, you know, calls and texts 24 hours a day, and 7 days a week and things like that, where it just it's like unnecessary and unproductive and very usually tactical, like it's like they're trying to affect things tactically when we should be affecting things strategically. Right. And I told a few clients, I was like, hey, these are unproductive tactical things that we're dealing with all the time. And we should be working on strategic initiatives that will affect big change and get you toward the goals that you really have. So interesting kind of sidebar, but I think there's a huge opportunity for that. I mean, Utah is full of startups, and as you know, there's so many startups around here and startup CEOs, first-time CEOs, and they need help and assistance and advice and direction. And in that position as a CEO, as I was mentioning, as we were sort of starting off the pod today, I remember feeling like really lonely, as a CEO, at early startup CEO. If something really well is going on, I can't necessarily gloat about it to people. It may seem like I'm bragging or something. And then if something's going badly, I don't want to tell people because then they'll be afraid that things are going sideways. And
did you feel that like also with, even like being like a dad and a breadwinner and like, taking care of your family
because
too?
I know our team has families and they're concerned, if there's something that's a threat or something like that we're dealing with, who do I take in that conversation to get good advice and decision making that doesn't, concern everyone to the point where you lose their attention and their interest, right? And thankfully, like we made it through, all those early, challenges, and but CEOs need that advice and help. And so, what would you say when you're coaching a CEO? What are those? How do those conversations start, and what do they evolve to, and what kinds of things are you dealing with?
That's a good question, and I'll tell you that there's actually two responses. One is a definition that I've come up with that says the same individual, talented, experienced, could be a consultant, a mentor, or a coach in the role and the hat that they play. So as a consultant, you'd normally have the expert be paid a high number of dollars to solve a problem. Go take care of that complex issue, and they solve it. And they do it in a fraction of the time that somebody new would have done it. The mentor actually, with the same experience, would say, well, Jacob, you could do this or do this based on my experience of what happened. Here's some options that you could consider. So that would be a mentor giving advice from the experience. The coach, most of the time, will say, well, I see a problem. What are your ideas on how you could solve that? What's an option that you could use? What else? What's the positive and negative? So that ultimately, over time, the coach encourages the person to develop their own internal skills, leadership, decision-making, communication, whatever it is. And along the journey, so answer number 2, along the journey of the CEO being coached, if they are just new, brand spanking new, they've got 2 or 3 people, they're scrapping things together, versus somebody who's got now 50, 100, 600 employees, there's a different level of need that startup guy versus the now scaling person versus later on when they've got 5,000 or 10,000 employees. They'll each have different things. I always think about it like you have a pediatrician for the little baby kids, right? Mm. And then depending on where they are in their life and circumstances, whether it be a gynecologist, whether it be a cancer doctor, or right, someone who does bone and everything to do with issues around that, everyone's got a different need. So in my particular case, I function in what I call the companies that have made it past the startup and are now looking to scale. Usually they, at least in the software world, from 10, they want to get to 100 million, right, in that phase. Mm-hmm. And consistently what I face in that arena are 2 things now that I've outlined those 2 elements. Consistently, the first thing is they don't know how to scale beyond their own skills, their own sleeves turned up, rolled up. They want to go and nail it. They just don't know how to do it, and they're fried. They're stressed out of their minds. So this is about scaling based on them not being the single focal point. Number two, they also have this insane need, because you can understand it. I got to monitor this, I got to monitor that, I got to do this, this, and this. And so they have no balance in their lives. So the business cannot grow because they're the constriction point, and they're dying. They're just worn out.
Stretched thin.
Stretched thin, tired, completely, because they carried it up to this point, and the mere thought of growing it to 10x or what it is now, how do I do this?
Yeah, I feel like the bandwidth that it takes to make good decisions for every area of the business is limited.
Yes.
Like there's only so much time, and at some point you have to say, I trust my people. Like what do you think we should do? Do I stamp that?
But they don't even get to that point. Today I had a conversation with a client, software, and he's doing well. He bootstrapped by himself, and he's close to 11 million annual revenue, recurring revenue. And I said, look, last summer we had this, I create what's called the CEO Collective. It's a boot camp for all my CEOs. I get them together out of their office. This time in February, I'm doing it in Costa Rica so that I can get them out of the office physically. And he goes, I don't think I can go. I'm traveling and this and this. I said, this is exactly why you need to go. Exactly. And he talked himself into it. He goes, I've been thinking, I've reached this level of success that my 20-year-old self would have loved, but I'm not enjoying it. And my wife says, I'm always there in the room on a Saturday, but I'm not present. Because he's all mulling about this, mulling about that. I said, dude, why do you think I have these boot camps? It's to get you out of that mode. We got to sharpen the saw. We got to get you out. So that is such a typical symptom of what happens. The business cannot scale, and the individual is burning out. And yet they've got now investment money or something, and so they're going to go 10 times that amount. They're in dire straits, right? High risk, high stakes.
So they'll engage with you, and then you'll start into trying to help them unpack maybe their 3 biggest problems they're dealing with now or something like that.
And what I do is I tell them, okay, 3 is exactly the number, because we take quarterly sprints, right? No more than 3. What are your 3 initiatives? And I make sure that one of them at least is personal. Could be family related, kids related, a spouse, significant other, because we've got to round that out, because you cannot be the best CEO if you have a very poor relationship back at home and no support. Or your health. And I'm seeing a lot more, who would have thought that I would be delving into this? I'm seeing a lot of younger now male CEOs who I've had to even recommend going to the doctor. They have low testosterone. What's going on, right? So you're kind of dragging. You're right, dude. What's going on? I said, it's only 11 a.m. What's going on? How can you lead at the front, and how can you grow the company when you're like a limp noodle? Would you, do me a favor, go see the doc, get your blood work done and whatever. So I've had 2 clients who had to have had testosterone shots. One client found out that he had bipolar schizophrenic tendencies. I was wondering why he was all over the place. So guess what? My job is also to care about their whole well-being while we're tackling the business and tackling
those
themselves.
are things that they may just be ignoring, or
The last person they're gonna take care of is themselves. Right? Everybody else.
It's impeding their progress, though.
Interesting. I got lots of stories, but you get the idea, right? It's like that.
I think the stories are great. That's what people love hearing about. And, just thinking, in your view, how do the best leaders build cultures that stick, not just look good on slides? Building culture, like what have you experienced with that?
And the short answer is it's absolutely dependent upon that CEO. That magnetic personality influences everything. If that person If there are multiple CEOs and all of them are hard driving and all of them are demanding and all of them get great results, it's the person who truly cares about the individuals within the team that influences and pushes down the culture. Because everyone knows they got to show up, they got to give their best, they got to snap to attention. They get it. They got KPIs, they got dashboards everywhere. But the cultures that really hum, it stems from the leader, and his or her personality flows down. If the person at the top is absolutely driven by, I've got to conquer, we've got to hit these numbers, and we're going to do it with or without you, we'll do it, great. You'll have a different kind of, and there are many organizations that are massive and public that have that sort of a culture. I know when you say culture, you're talking actually about where people want to come in. There's warmth, there's a support. But I know of many, many consulting firms where the culture is deliberately crafted to have high burnout, but to extract the most out of these talented Harvard Ivy League students, right? Mm-hmm. It's a clinical factory. Mm-hmm. So that in itself is a corporate culture, deliberately crafted. Mm. For most of our readers, viewers, listeners here, I think what you're talking about is how can we create an environment where they want to be together, where they want to support each other to achieve the common goal, and that they will lean on each other when they're fighting in the trenches, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And the answer is it comes from the leader, the CEO. That CEO needs to love people, including the results. And they're not always the same.
I agree, and I feel like that's what we've tried to build within Squeeze and with the team that we have, the people that we have. I've said, especially recently, it's like I've never really felt more confident about the team and where we are together as a team and the experience that everyone's gotten. We have quite a few people who've come up from the ranks, starting on the phones as agents, but they understand what drives the business. They understand what, factors and KPIs are important to the agents that are on the phone, and then we manage them in the same way and continue developing processes and systems that help foster that kind of environment
and can I interject here? Mm-hmm. I do have two clients, quite a few clients, because they're non-turds and so they're caring, right? They actually can take that strength to the opposite side and make it a weakness, where they won't address poor performance, where they won't hold people accountable because they care too much.
Right.
And what I mean by that is they care to the point of not wanting to rock the boat because they do not want to be esteemed as someone who's mean, someone who is uncaring. And that's a dangerous place to go. Yeah. Because you have to take care of the entire team, not just the low performers who may be even in a very influential or strategic position. Those are the ones you need to address right away. And a caring, let's go to that definition of kind, not nice. A kind leader says, hey, here's the expectation. You've been given training. You've been given support. It's documented. If you do not perform to this level, then we're going to have to go through the counsel, warn, suspend, terminate sequence. Straight up. That's how it goes. I care for you. And I care for the rest of the team. They're watching your low performance be compensated and not be addressed. We can't have that. Because we've got lots of high performers kind of rolling their eyes. And I'm not going to lose my high performance because you're being sustained in this low performance mode. Yeah. That's another important matter that I see all the time.
I found myself in that situation, over the years, and different, it brings to mind different scenarios that I've been in there, and I've thought about that. It's like, if I don't address this, it's going to become a bigger issue, and it's a problem for the rest of the team. And thankfully, I feel like sometimes, there have been times where I maybe waited too long to address, to deal with it. But, when I have, it's been the right decision, and things were better moving forward after that was taken care of. And so, I think that accountability and just making sure that there's alignment is so critical to the team's success. And the impact of someone negatively in the business and how it affects everyone around them is something that you have to take seriously for sure. So
You don't have to pounce on poor performance immediately, but it is better to address it sooner than later.
Mm-hmm.
And over time, I've seen those who are reluctant to be kind because they want to be too nice.
Mm-hmm.
Ultimately, when they turn around, and I call it, I'd rather sleep well than eat well, they know that they gave that employee, that senior executive, every opportunity to improve.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Then when they depart from each other, no longer work together, guess what? I gave every opportunity. I can sleep well. I did the right thing.
Yeah.
And that is a good outcome.
And I think that just like everything else that you're talking about with culture, accountability also bleeds from the top down.
Yeah.
It's like I sit in our executive meetings, and if Carson is holding each of us accountable to our piece of the business, we hold our people accountable to their piece of our business.
Yes.
And that trickles down to our agents, because that's the expectation and it's table stakes. It shouldn't be exceptional to do that.
Yeah.
And like you said, like I tell my people this all the time. I was talking to one of my account managers yesterday. I was talking to her, and she's like, tough conversations don't have to be tough. Like we can talk about tough things because there's a foundation of like, I care and I want you to be successful, and my job is to help you be successful. Yeah. And if you're not successful, then I've done something here that I'm not supporting you enough, or you're not doing what we've asked you to do. It's one of those two things. So let's figure it out. And when you can have those open conversations, life gets a lot easier.
Yeah.
Because you're on the same team. It's you and that employee against the problem instead of you
That's
against
right.
the employee.
That's right.
And
but you said the right word, care. And people won't listen or take your advice unless they know that they're cared for.
Yeah. And they won't talk to you.
Yeah.
I mean, they won't share anything with you.
So you got to establish that relationship, and afterwards you can say anything. You can say anything to them.
Mm-hmm.
So I've often had leaders say, how come you can say those things and get away with it? And I'll say, because they know that I care. Mm-hmm. You didn't even take the time to have eye contact. Mm-hmm. You're addressing the issue and you're looking at your paper because you're awkward, you're embarrassed, you're uncomfortable, and you're not even looking at the person in the eyes. Come on, that's human relationship 101. Mm-hmm. Never mind leadership. Mm-hmm. So if you can't do that, I'm sorry, you're not going to get very far.
Yeah. You know, that's something that a principle I know that has been talked about in a number of books too, that I've seen, that people don't want to listen to what you have to say until they know you care, and there has to be that relationship of trust in order to, take that. If there's feedback that needs to be given, if they know that you're concerned for them and want to see them improve, then they're going to be more open to listen to that and apply it. And you're working on the problem together. Like Jacob said, it's like it's you and them against the problem, not you against them. And I think that's a good summary for that.
High performance cultures are really best achieved under a caring mode, mm-hmm. but also an accounting mode, accountability mode. Both need to happen mm-hmm. simultaneously. And that's the missing piece for most founders after a while. Mm-hmm. They gravitate to one or the other and alienate. Yeah. You can see that, right?
Yeah. And I think you've got to make sure you have the care first before the accountability, because if you have I only care because I'm accountable. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Oh, yeah.
Like I get in trouble if you're not.
They can smell that a mile off.
Yeah. So the care comes first and the accountability comes second, in that order. Otherwise, people get that real quick.
I had one client. I was meeting with him after he had his staff meeting with his senior vice presidents. I said, how'd it go? And he had his head down. He said, not well. I said, uh-oh, what happened? He said, the SVP of sales was on his laptop the entire meeting. And I was getting mad because I had told everyone, right, to please put all distractions aside. This is just for us. We've got to talk about strategy. We've got to talk about leadership topics. And this guy is always there. And so I said, excuse me, would you close your laptop? Oh, I'm trying to organize a big closing of a deal, whatever. And so the CEO let it go, and he increasingly started to boil, because every now and then he could see that the SVP of sales was just smiling, and whatever, engaged, but not engaged in the meeting. So the CEO slams his hand down on the boardroom table, just loud as possible, and just completely shocks everybody, including the sales guy. It says, "Put that laptop down," whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "So how'd it go?" He goes, "Nobody wanted to say anything after that." I said, "Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, I wonder why."
Took the air right out of the room. Yeah.
Right? And then I asked him this very telling questions. So where did you learn that smashing the table was a leadership principle that would be effective, that you would even consider it? And this was his astonishing reply. "I keep seeing that in movies." That was his answer.
Yeah.
"I keep seeing that in movies." I said, "Okay."
How did that work out for you?
Yeah, I already asked it, right?
Yeah.
But it's amazing if you think about it, the amount of times from our listeners, viewers, they're all growing their businesses. Who are their models?
Mm-hmm.
Who gives them inspiration to think that that's the way it's supposed to be?
Mm-hmm.
Who gives them feedback that it isn't? Right?
I've seen that a number of times when we've encountered different situations where there's been bad leadership displayed, and then there's been conversations afterwards about like, where does that come from? Why is it that way? Why was that the way the person behaved? And my answer always was, I feel like that was they had bad examples of leadership in their experience. Mm-hmm. And that's something that they witnessed and experienced, and they think that's the way you're supposed to behave.
Yeah.
And, it's, I think it's a good way to sort of like dissect it and like maybe take the personal nature out of that person behaving that way. I mean, not saying that it's okay, but maybe helps explain, understand that person, and like, they just don't know better.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
It tells you that our roles as leaders is very important
mm-hmm.
to round out, not just by our examples, but to illustrate more than one example of the way that you can truly lead, motivate, inspire.
Mm-hmm.
Because I always say that leadership means people want to follow you. Want to follow you. That's
mm-hmm.
when you know you've got it.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of managers out there.
Mm-hmm.
But what's a leader?
Yeah.
Right? And that takes some examples and places where they can go, oh, okay. But if you don't model it,
mm-hmm.
or have several models, they'll only take the bad ones.
Yep. Lead from the front.
Well, Benoy, this has been fantastic to have you here on the podcast.
Thank you.
Great to get to know you more and your story and everything you're doing as the tech CEO coach. And do you have a website that people could find you?
Yeah, it's techceocoach.com.
Okay, perfect.
It's really, really unique. So
yeah.
Very innovative, but yes.
That'll be easy to find,
Yeah.
and we'll tag that too on the
Thank you.
podcast when we post it.
Thank
And any final thoughts or anything that you think we should add to this, Jacob?
Yeah, no, I think this has been great. Something that just keeps coming to mind for me is like I keep thinking about like it's squeeze. I'm not a CEO, but I do own a piece of the business.
You will be someday.
Maybe someday, yeah. But I own a piece of the business, right? And to my people, I need to be the type of leader that inspires them and that leads from the front, and that shows, the exact same principles, because that really is like a training ground.
Mm-hmm.
And I do have great examples, obviously, to learn from. But yeah, this has been awesome. Thank you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
You've been watching the Juice Consumer Direct podcast. Make sure you give us a follow.
Yeah, reach out if you have any questions, comments. We'll make sure to get to them.
And you're welcome to reach out to me on techceocoach.com if I can help. So,
Great.
Thank you.
Thank
Thanks,
you.
Benoy.